1935, the Lions win the NFL championship. The Detroit Tigers take the World Series. The Red Wings bring home Lord Stanley's Cup. Joe Louis begins his rise to world domination. This transforms the Motor City into Detroit, City of Champions.
There you go, crack of the bat, and we are off and running on the 90th anniversary of Champions Day. It is April 18th, 2026, and April 18th, it was 1936, they declared Detroit the City of Champions, and it's been celebrated in one way, shape, or form for the 90 years. There was quite a gap, though, and they paused, and Mayor Bing brought back Champions Day as a Detroit holiday. It was pretty exciting. I think that was 2006, I believe, is when Mayor Bing brought that back. But it was celebrated for a long time and then faded away. And Charles Avison found the little factoid and then started uncovering more and more and more, which turned into a trilogy of books. We're hoping Charles can join us. I sent him a link. He might pop in on the chat here. We don't know. But we are at the Detroit Historical Museum, which has so many of the interesting pieces and parts of Champions Day. The big plaque, we did a whole episode on the big plaque that's signed by the president and all 48 governors of the time, declaring Detroit City of Champions and declaring April 18th Champions Day. And there's just so many. This is a 100th anniversary for the Detroit Red Wings, and the Detroit Historical Museum has a gorgeous display set up for the Red Wings and celebrating them. They did one for the Lions about several months ago. And so they're really focusing on Champions Day. They have these little pods of Champions Day features throughout the museum, because they have so many little things. If somebody's watching the video, you can see behind us a bunch of hockey sticks and the small replicas of the Stanley Cups that they're awarded each year that has everybody's name on it for the team for that year that the team gets to keep. So they're here at the museum. But the sticks behind us are all game used sticks in these Stanley Cup games. These are all these sticks are game used sticks in the Stanley Cups games. They're Sid Abel, Gordie Howe, Ted Lindsay, Al DeVecchio, Yzerman, and Lindstrom, Red Kelly. So all those sticks are here, and it's fun because they're all autographed. A bunch of them are autographed by every member of the team that year of the Stanley Cup winning team. So it's something to see if you want to come down to the Detroit Historical Museum and celebrate the Red Wings and the City of Champions. Lots to see. So since Charles isn't here, we got a whole panel of people. We got friends touring the museum, and Reed McAvoy is here, of course, Tom Urich. And then Bill Williams. Bill, your dad went to the game at 35, and we're going to get to you, but we're going to start with the young man first, because I'm excited that Reed is here. And Reed, you're excited about old sports. Dude, get a life. What are you doing? So I'm teasing. That's my job on the show, is to be mean and sarcastic.
Sure.
So say weird things. But anyway, so Reed, how did you discover City of Champions? Because I heard you talking a minute ago, and then you said you wanted to, because you heard it and you found out about Tom, and then you tried to find Tom. So tell me, how did you first hear about City of Champions?
Well, I got to say, it's funny that I'm here. I don't feel like I belong here at all, but it is awesome to get to be a part of this and see all of this history. And something that I often do, because I do love to research old sports, is I fall down a Wikipedia rabbit hole. Okay, and somehow it's ended up with me catching a day-long train from Kansas City to Detroit to be here for this.
Oh, good Lord.
That rabbit hole was about the Portsmouth Spartans. Okay. I found out about them, and I was shocked because the Lions, they claim being established in 1935.
Yes.
And I know that other football teams that have relocated or renamed, they don't pretend like that other history didn't happen, you know?
Okay.
And I just wanted to find, why don't the Lions say they were established in 1930 when the Spartans joined the NFL? Why did they say 1935? And in the process of trying to find that answer, which I did eventually find from a clip of this show,
there was a gap here.
Yeah. Yeah, I found from a clip of this show when Tom Urich was talking about that the team officially folded and sold its assets to G.A. Richards, who then relocated it. So it wasn't a clean move. But before I got to that answer, I found out all of the ridiculous stories about the Spartans. There are many.
Oh my!
And that was simply I decided I needed to talk to Tom Urich to try and get more information. I found videos from this show. And I literally Googled his name. 10 phone numbers came up. I called all of them. Most weren't in order. One guy picked up, and he was not Tom Urich. And then I got to this guy's voicemail.
Hey,
and that was a couple years ago. And since then, we've talked a bunch.
You said you recognized.
Yes, I recognize his voice from this show. Yes.
Oh my God! All right, that's so funny. That's so funny.
And then we have been in contact since. He has sent me a million things in the mail that he wants me to have because he has passed on all the information to me that he can.
I love it.
And for Champions Day for the 90th year anniversary, he's invited about everybody that he knows.
Yeah.
And I was one of the people that was like, yeah, I'll be here. And I actually dragged my mom and grandpa along with me.
I was going to say, who came with you? Was your mom and your grandfather with you?
Yep.
All right. I'm so glad you're here. Where'd you get the hat? Did you have it?
Tom just got that for me. I think it was yesterday.
Oh, nice. I love it. I don't have one. Yeah, no, I love it because Tom's got one that's a little weathered, and I've always admired it. And I'm like, are they selling them someplace? And I missed it. So, all right, awesome. So, Reed, so the Lions and the Spartans are your jam, right? So that's the part of the story that you really like. You said you've looked at some of the episodes. Was there any other part of the City of Champions that caught your interest at all? Or are you a football guy?
Certainly football was the part that got me here.
Okay.
And then your show was the part that showed me there was a whole lot more here than just the football team.
It's so fun.
And something that I really liked too was the parallelism. I don't know if this will, I'm sure you guys are probably all Lions fans. That you guys I found that the fan base sort of celebrated vicariously through Matt Stafford when he won the Super Bowl with LA. And that Portsmouth fans celebrated vicariously through the Lions when they won in 1935. They did. They did. And I love that parallelism. So certainly it's the football is the main thing that got me here.
So there were so many things. Is there part of the Lions story? Because there's so many little nuances to the story that's like, oh my God, that was from that. Oh my God, that was. Is there a part of the Lions story that you like the most? Or it really was like, oh my God. Oh my
I mean, like I said, that parallelism was really my favorite part.
Yeah.
And how many players came from the Spartans, and that there was that they had the Portsmouth P underneath their jerseys when they won that 1935 game.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or maybe I did, and I just don't remember from that episode. No, Tom, you're talking with us a conversation, man.
Don't dead air. I'm an old radio man, but
yeah,
the little P's they put them on there because they left the Portsmouth Spartans back. The team was divided.
Yeah,
and the players in Detroit resented it because G.A. Richardson was bringing in all these kids, and the Spartan players say, "You're getting this kid. Just bring him up from Portsmouth." Didn't work, and there was a resentment, and I could see that when I went into the reunion because there was two tables. The Lions sat over here, and the Spartans sat over here.
Oh.
They never contacted one another. They carried that grudge all the way from Portsmouth.
Oh boy!
And Abe Kushner, who got me there, said, "Tom, you will hear the greatest sports story in the world, but the world does not know it." But go ahead and read here.
So Reed. So he's passing the torch for you to help. And the way Charles has collected so many of these stories and compiled them into the books. It's just, I appreciate you being here all the way in. Are you enjoying the museum? Is there something you've seen here that you've liked?
Oh, the plaque. I didn't know about that. I guess I haven't managed to watch every episode. I got to get into it.
We go into it.
Yeah. But that was amazing because also the fact that it came out in 1936, it means they were on it immediately. This wasn't something where they were looking back and like, we got to document it. That was right away. They said, everyone in this entire country needs to know that we are the best around.
And they agreed. Well, when do you get all the governors to agree on something?
Yeah.
I think this year they might agree on the Olympic hockey teams. But besides that, I think it's been a dry spell in between those two. It's or the 85, the 84 hockey team too. But man, oh man, you got to listen to that episode because that changed hands a few times. That plaque, it was sold for $35 in a garage sale.
Hey, 35 though.
Yeah, there you are.
I said 30, but geez, it's an increase in inflation.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it was, got saved. And then they're like, somebody was like, well, I don't know, they sold it. And somebody saw it at the thing and was like, this looks important. And then it got here and it was stored away for a long time. And finally, came to light. The episode's interesting. We'll link that in the comments.
Sure.
So people can go back and see that episode as well. But yeah, that's something great to see. We got to 2 years ago for Champions Day. We brought it out. We did a bigger talk in one of the auditoriums, and we brought it in, and I got to carry it in. Tracy, the curator here, she was like, "I'll hold the door. Grab that. Bring it in." I'm like, I didn't have white gloves on or nothing. I'm like, really? And then she's like, it was in the rain in the garage sale. I mean, what are you gonna do to it now, right? So I'm like, I'm trying to be like super careful. Don't bump the door. Don't bump the door. Don't bump the door. I'm carrying that thing. It's very, very cool. So so that's another thing I like about the Detroit Historical Museum. There's some hands-on things here. There's a lot of things behind the glass, but there's a lot of hands-on things here. There's a lot of things that you can see the life that they lived when you can get up and close and personal to them. So Rita, I'm glad you're here. Thanks so much.
It's great to be here.
We're going to go over to Bill, and Bill, your father was at that 35 game.
Correct. He was.
So what kind of stories, are you a Lions fan?
I have to be, because I'm from Detroit, right?
Yeah. Where are you from, Bill?
So I'm from Detroit.
Okay, fair play. Right. So
I'm a hockey guy. Sorry.
Okay, right on. No, that's cool. I'm not a sports guy. I know nothing about sports. I have a sports podcast, which most people who have sports podcasts don't know anything about sports. But I admit it. I'm a fan of the city. I'm a fan of history. Charles is a dynamic, interesting guy. Between Tom and Charles, the energy these two guys have about this story is it's unbridled, and I love sitting back and watching them go. So I've grown to love the stories. So you're happy here in the Red Wings room. This has got to be.
This is awesome.
This isn't a permanent thing, right? So they'll change this out. So sadly, this is cool as heck. So
it is. There's a lot of history. It's very, very impressive how they set this all up.
Yeah. So people got to get down, because this won't be here forever. This is just a short celebration that they're doing, and they're rotating it out. I'm sure it'll come back one day. But yeah, they rotate it out, trying to keep history fresh, right? How do you keep history fresh? In a museum, it's like you got to change it up.
So live in a museum.
Get people in and see it.
All right, so we'll talk hockey.
Okay.
But let's talk Lions, because we're on our Lions kick right now.
Gotcha.
So did your dad have stories about this, or was there any memorabilia you got?
So no memorabilia, unfortunately, but my dad was always a very, very interested in sports. He was a sports enthusiast his whole life. As long as he was able to, he played until, basketball, baseball, whatever they could. Being a child of the Depression, there was not very much for them to do. So they went out every time they could. They, sandlot baseball, that's what they did in the neighborhoods. So my dad was always into sports. As he got a little older, he played, like I said, he played basketball, he played football when he was in high school. And then his knees went out, and that was the end of his playing career. But anytime any Detroit sports team was on radio or TV, that's where he parked. Mm. And my dad served in Korea during the war, and that's something that kept them connected. They would always try to listen, through the Air Force radio.
Oh, wow.
Or Air Force Armed Services radio. Sorry.
Yeah.
For any sports games they could. And anytime a Detroit team was on there, my dad was ecstatic.
Yeah.
Wow. So, no, it was great. And he told me all kinds of stories. And then when we got into hockey, I started skating, he started coaching, and I got to meet a ton of wonderful hockey people. But, one of his sports heroes was Ernie Cadell that, we're going to talk about. Yeah. So again, when my dad was a kid, no money, they couldn't do anything. So listening to the radio, my dad became a big Ernie Cadell fan. So my grandma got a T-shirt and got some material and sewed a number 1 on this T-shirt for my dad. And that's all my dad wore around all the time. And thankfully, Tom brought this all to light.
Yeah.
It was my dad would talk about sports and everything, and we were usually just hockey. But I met Tom through work.
Yeah.
And Tom and my dad, being of similar ages, started talking about all the history of Detroit sports and how amazing it was. And that's when my dad started, oh, yeah, I had an Ernie Cadell's jersey that grandma made. And I went to this game and that game. And, so he was at the UAD game, UAD field, for that game.
Jeez.
So it's these things that I learned, thanks to Tom.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It really is.
It's so interesting how so many of the rules of football today, the hash marks and left and right, all of those stemmed from those seasons from the Spartans and from, having to play in play football in a hockey arena. It was, it just, as the story unfolds, there's so many things.
Could I interrupt?
Sure. No, I don't know. Like I said, Tom, I don't know what I'm doing. I need your help.
How did I find Charles Apinson? It was through his dad, because he had the book on the table.
Oh, okay.
And I got his name, and somehow we got a hold of Charles's father.
Yeah.
He gave me his name, and I called him, and then I was part of the City of Champions. But also, I made a CD of the actual City of Champions, and I gave it to Mr. Williams, and he heard Ernie Cadell's voice for the first time. Tell that story.
Yeah. So when Tom gave me the CD so that we could listen to it, as soon as Ernie Cadell's voice came on, my dad got all choked up and teared up, because this was his childhood hero.
Yeah.
It was a very emotional thing. And then again, like I said, it was so appreciative of Tom to start bringing my dad out of the shell about these things, because this was all important stuff to him when he was a kid.
Right.
Well, none of that, I gave him a shirt. You said he wore it, the City of Champions shirt.
Yep.
Tell him that story. He wore it quite a bit. Am I right, Tom?
Yeah. So Tom had some City of Championship shirts made.
Yeah.
So he gave one to my dad, and my dad would wear it all the time. For quite a few years, we had a place up at Houghton Lake, and most weekends my dad would go up and hang out with his friends, playing shooting pool at the local restaurants. My dad would wear a shirt, and they'd all be at, "Where'd you get this shirt? I didn't know about this." So bringing this history all to light, people are unaware that 1935 was such a big year.
Yeah, I just met a father with his little son. He's like, I'm trying to get him interested in the things in history and get him away from the machines and see things that actually happened. And he's like, he was like, what is this? I started telling him, and he was like, get out. No, seriously. And that's like nobody knows the story. They love Detroit, they love history, and they don't know the story. It's and we say it all the time. It's just it's the most untold story, the important one around. So
it is. Detroit's the greatest sports city anywhere.
Yes.
I agree.
The fan base here is phenomenal. We always want the teams to win, but win or not, the fans are always there cheering them on, and it never changes. And we need new generations to be aware of what happened. Yeah. It brings a lot of pride to the city. It really does.
It's a great sports city. When I grew up as a child, my dad always told me about the City of Champions, and I always asked him, well, who were they? There was 139 of them if you broke all of the teams down together. Yeah. How can you keep track of 139 people?
Oh, yeah.
And so they just said, hey, they're the City of Champions. That's how it all started. They couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
My dad only knew 3 or 4 of them. And my goodness, Walter Hagen, one of the great golfers of all time. Gar Wood, Eddie Tolan, the fastest human being on the face of the earth.
Love it.
With his medals are in the showcase.
Yeah.
Gar Wood was the fastest human being from Detroit on water. He took Miss America 100 miles an hour down the river.
Yeah.
Detroit had the 2 fastest humans on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
On land and on water.
Yeah.
What's the chances of that?
No, it's like I said, it was like not even a year. It was like a 9-month span.
And these champions were just coming one after another. The spirit of Detroit down there. They put the uniform on. In 1935, there had to be a guy there living with a tent. We got another one.
Right. Yeah.
But the history in this town is I traveled Amtrak like coast to coast, telling the story of the City of Champions, and I wore a shirt. And it said 24 distinctions. And I never went. One time this guy stopped. I always had the newspaper of the articles that Ed Kushner gave me of the 40 of the champions. The guy said, hey, that's sure. What is that all about? I said, well, gosh, Detroit had a bad 35. They only won 24 world championships. The guy said, oh, come on, give me a break. That's unreal. I said, what's going on? I took the paper, read that. How in the world did they do that?
Right. what was in the
I said,
water?
we're the city of champions. They all work hard together. But when you mention that, a lot of people, we were traveling around the state, the city of champions and 35. It's lost.
Right.
And Reed here is going to carry this on because I'm 85 years old, you know, and I got to pass the torch on to him. But
well, I'm glad you're excited about it, Reed. Did you see the replica of the Miss America over there?
Yes.
Boat?
well,
Yes.
that was a boat that went 100 miles an hour.
So the actual Miss America still exists.
Okay.
It's at the Packard Museum, because if you look at the little replica, the engines in there and say Packard, they're Packard engines.
Yeah.
And so the guy who bought it and refurbished it, I think there might be Chevy engines in it now, but he refurbished it and he keeps it at the Packard Historical Museum. He'll take it out in the summer and take it to shows and things. So that's the Miss America 10. So the Miss America 10, the one that won the Harmsworth the last time, is here. We did an episode right sitting in front of it, so we actually got to sit in it, and we set up a table right in front of it. So while we were talking, we were reaching back and touching the boat. It was great. But yeah, so we'll link that one in the notes too. So if you got time, it's up Van Dyke. It's the Packard Museum. There's if you're into cars and stuff too, it's a great thing to see the Packard Museum. Did you know that was up there?
I did not.
You lit up when I said that. You're like, that's it. It's interesting. Something to go see, but you want to call ahead to make sure it's there.
Yeah.
Because he takes it out and takes it to boat shows.
I will absolutely go see it.
The Miss America 9 is somewhere in the Carolinas. And when we did the episode on it, the people who have it, they were like, oh my God, no one ever tells this story. And they invited us down to because that one they still run in the water. The 10 is, they only do it show. I don't think he ever puts it in the water. The engines will fire up, but I don't think he actually puts it in the water. But the 9, they run it. It doesn't have as monstrous and as dangerous of engines as it did back in the day, but they will run it. And they're like, we'll take you for a ride. And Charles and I are like, oh my God, we got to make it down there. So that's on my bucket list to go for a ride in the Miss America. It was the 8 or the 9. But yeah, that's it's so many pieces of this history are still alive. And then we just like to draw them together and draw people's attention to it.
I saw Garwood go on one of the episodes. Charles asked me, did you ever meet Garwood? When I went down on the Detroit River, and when he was racing, there was 500,000 people on this side, and on the Canadian side, probably 100,000.
Yeah.
He was a legend of the world.
Oh, yeah.
They were seeing a boat going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. And
it
nothing went 100 miles an hour on that. It was yeah. It was amazing stuff.
And every time we went down there, you could hardly park. We used to take the streetcar down to watch them. And then we go down to the river. The streetcar used to run down Michigan Avenue, and went to a lot of ball games going down on that streetcar to Tiger Stadium. By my day, it was Wrigley Field. Tiger Break Stadium, and before that, it was Navin Field, and that's where all of the great. They played the championship game for the Tigers, and of course, UD Stadium is where Bill's father would have given it. And that was you got to remember, in 35, that was a long way from Detroit. That was a lot of gas in the Depression to get out there.
That's like a stopping for lunch and a field trip.
And they claimed that in 35 that a lot of people didn't have radios, and they would go down to the Detroit News Building or the Free Press Building, because they used to fly all of the sports news into the Detroit River and drop the barrel. And everybody said, well, what did Detroit win now?
Yeah.
I was at the Ford Museum, or at the Henry Ford's Fairlane, and Henry Ford, during the Depression, he would not come out, because every time he went out, everybody needed a job, and he was a recluse. Yeah. But I knew the personal man from Dearborn, Isidore Strub, was a personal man that Mrs. Ford would call up. Isidore, we need to give him the grocery list and bring the paper, because Henry wants to know what's going on, because he's with the City of Champions. He loved Charlie Gehringer. And when Isidore would drive go into the Ford mansion, Henry would pick up that paper, pick the front page, sports.
Yeah.
Where's the standings? Where's Detroit now?
Yeah.
Henry Ford himself. So he was wrapped up in it, and a lot of people don't know this. In the Great Depression, the St. Louis Browns were for sale, almost a dime on the dollar. And he wanted to buy it. All of a sudden, he got engrossed with the City of Champions at Ford Field. He wanted to build a stadium, but the baseball major league's ruling was you couldn't build a team another team within the Tigers of 50 miles. Well, he lost that.
Yeah.
Then he thought he would go out. This is interesting. He thought he would go out a little bit further because he had a soybean farm out in Ypsilanti. And he thought, I'll build a stadium there. Then he got thinking, this is a depression, and that's a lot of gasoline to get out there with the roads right now aren't right. I think we'll cancel it. But had it been for the rule, he would have built the stadium. Listen to the ironic thing. If he would have bought the Cardinals or the Browns and put them out there in that field, in this soybean field, you know what that soybean field is today? Willow Run.
Oh, okay.
Could you imagine? And that's where they built the B-24 bombers. And Eddie Cadell was the little midget. He worked out there in the tail section. But my goodness, where would they, if he would have built that park with all that land, where would they built that Willow Run? Because that's over something like 2 million square feet.
Yeah.
And the ironic story was they built it in Livingston County, and the B-24s had to go this way. And the reason was this was Wayne County, and he didn't want to pay the taxes in Wayne County. This has to be Livingston, Texas.
Ah, there you go. That's great.
Yeah, when my dad worked and my father worked at the Willow Run plant and and he was the wing inspector, and Henry Ford hired every midget in America to do work because they didn't have robots. You had to get in there and do the intricate work.
Right.
And my dad was a wing inspector, and he said when they put a thing in there, he heard a loud scream, and the guy that was doing the drilling didn't know the midget was in there.
Oh,
Then they would take the planes out and lady flyers, and they would fly all the different directions in case there was a Nazi spy. They wouldn't want to go in one group.
yeah.
But it's ironic. I mean, the history.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So talk about pulling it all together and bringing all these stories together into one thing. The guy that did just that is checking in with us. Charles.
Wow, what's up, guys?
Hey, there you are. So everybody can hear you.
What are you guys up to?
So we're in the museum,
He's right up
and
here.
we're talking Little City of Champions on Champions Day. So happy Champions Day.
Jeez, God. Happy Champions Day, fellas.
Hi, Charles.
I literally just got a new phone an hour ago, and Jamie's sitting there going, answer the text. I'm like, I've downloaded a new
It's right away
phone.
from the river. I understand it.
That's great. So we're here in the Red Wings exhibit in the Detroit Historical Museum, and they got some amazing pieces in here. They got game-used sticks from all of the Stanley Cup games, and they're autographed by like all the players from that game, and just some amazing things to see. You're stuck working, but how you feeling on this 90th anniversary of Champions Day?
It's amazing, you guys. I love the fact that you guys are rolling it out there. I'm not even there, but you guys are rolling it out like that's my original dream. Is like I'm only one person, because I was like doing it originally, and the fact that you guys are all out there is means a ton. You know what I mean? Like, because I physically can't do it today. It's just but I'm grateful that you guys are all carrying the torch. You know what I mean? You guys are all lighting a bonfire. That's kind of what it means to me, is that you guys all see it. Something that we've all kind of seen. You guys are all doing it. So
with us we got Reed McAvoy. He came Kansas City.
Yep.
He came in from Kansas City because he heard an episode of our podcast and he got just entranced with the Spartans. And so he found Tom, and he and Tom have struck up a friendship. And Reed came in for the celebration today, and we got Bill Williams as well, who I think Bill's father is the guy who connected you and Tom in the first place.
that's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that. That's I'm grateful for that, because Tom is one of my favorite people in the entire world. So
Yeah. He's
Thank you, Charles. I'm a little bit nervous behind the mic. Well, I missed a few of your broadcasts when you were down here, but on the 90th, when I look at the screen up there and watching all the games, when you stop and you're saying, I talked to this guy and I talked to that, and we watched Dutch Clark. He's deceased. He was the director out at UD Stadium when he left the Lions. But at the reunion, I actually spoke to his widow with the 3 Spartans. And I'll never forget it. Glenn Presnell was down there and Ernie Cadell, and they looked And he said, "You see that lady there?" I said, "Yes." "Who is it?" "That's Ernie, or Dutch Clark's widow." And when I left the ballroom at the Troy Hilton, when I interviewed the players, at 4:00 in the morning, the Lion players that were gathered were talking about the Detroit, and right next to in the same lounge of the hallway, they were talking Portsmouth Spartans. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I listened to it. They were talking about the days that they went to the bakery and the people in Portsmouth would pick up their cleaning. They were the kings in Portsmouth. They came to Detroit.
Yeah.
Good luck. That nobody wanted them. They didn't have a stadium to play in. Nobody wanted them.
Yeah.
And the NFL was putting tremendous pressure on them. And finally, he said, "We got to go to UD." But they went up to the big house in Ann Arbor. They didn't want them.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, and most of the players that were here had never been to Detroit. You got to remember, it's the Great Depression.
Yeah.
But the happiest one was Ernie Cadell. And the reason is that he was graduated from Stanford University, and he was a tremendous baseball player. He could have been in the majors, but he loved football more than he did baseball, okay? When the Portsmouth Spartans were moved, they went to the room, they said they were making an announcement that Detroit has bought the Spartans, and all of the Spartan players were really happy. We're all going to Detroit to be a group. Of course, it was split up, but the happiest one when he got the word that they were going to Detroit was Ernie Cadell. And the reason is that when he grew up, he was born in 1910. When he was a little boy, his favorite baseball player was Ty Cobb. And he said, "If Ty Cobb can play in Detroit, I can too."
Hey, there you go.
In the 34 World Series, Ernie Cadell told me it was the happiest day of his life. He met Ty Cobb.
That's great. So, Charles, are the books?
Cobb was there. Yeah.
Are the books available at the stores that you're at?
No, not right now, unfortunately.
Good talking to you, Charles.
I'm glad he got in here. I'm glad his voice is
Well,
this on the 90th
You know, I sat 2 years.
anniversary.
You saw my little cassette tape that I made.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that took me 2 years to put that together. Charles sat in that library or down in the Detroit Historic Library for 4 years.
Oh,
he
yeah.
said. 4 years to put that together. That's not easy.
Not easy at all.
And he did a wonderful job.
So he pulled the book together, but you guys pulled something together pretty cool. You're both wearing them.
I
And,
see you playing with your shirt there.
I love this. It's tell me about the shirt, right?
Well, that's a shirt. When I found out that it was going to be the 90th anniversary of the City of Champions,
Yeah.
I thought that instead of trying to tell them the story, which is on the back, by the way,
Yeah.
they must well see the front. And you know what? If I would have worn that shirt many years ago, I would have saved a lot of breath because here they are and there's the story.
Yeah. That's so you got the whole story on the back, the way you told it to somebody. And somebody designed this for you. They have all the
guy that designed that shirt is sort of I don't know him. His name is John.
Yeah.
And we were there yesterday. And Scott runs the TV show. I started that project on the shirts in October.
Yeah.
And he's a recluse. This John that designed that shirt, according to Scott, he's a magician. He said, if you tell him the story, he'll draw it on a piece of paper.
Oh, wow. Right on.
And I said, well, here's a challenge for him. So I gave him the article of all the champions.
Yeah.
And if you look at that, a lot of that, if you look up on the internet with all of those players, he took it off the internet.
Yeah.
But how do you, this is probably the only shirt ever made that's got 24 different, here's the Stroh's bowling tape. I just looked up the Stroh's bowling tape.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea in 2 years how many 300 games they bowled? Take a guess.
I don't think I can't even. I know. I can't
Anybody
even.
got a guess? 300.
Oh.
30.
How about
30.
How about 42?
Oh, wow.
42.
I thought 30 was
Now,
a ridiculous
also
number.
over here is probably the greatest story of the lady fencer.
Fencing, yeah.
That's the greatest story. And she won that title in 35
Yeah.
and it still stands to this day.
Wow. Right on. All right,
And
Charles.
there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because they don't have professional fencing.
Charles is back. Charles, closing thoughts here as we wrap up with you.
Awesome. No, I just wanted to say something about like the Spartans and kind of like all about this, the City of Champions, like as a whole kind of a thing, I guess. it kind of ties into the same concept is like for me when I first came across the story, it was like I just thought it was like a cool fact, Tigers, Lions, Red Wings first championship same season. But I think what ultimately is that really sucked me into a different world, and once you get there and start looking around, you just start seeing all kinds of just all kinds of stuff that you just never did about. People, just because like time, we kind of look at ourselves in a modern day world as that we're like advanced and somehow like evolved from people in the past. And I just totally reject that concept. And when you go back, when you go back, I mean, there are things that are better, but there's a lot of things that are worse. And so gives you a reason to kind of go back into that era and see what, just compare the differences, see if there's things that are worth, identifying and saying, well, that's something that we could use today or improve our lives today. And as relates, that's the reason I'm even thinking about it right now is because of the idea with the Spartans, which was one of my favorite aspects of the Spartans. And again, it kind of applies to the rest of the story is the idea of like the community spirit, the civic nature of like the idea that they like when you dive into the history of the Spartans, it was they didn't start out as like some NFL team. They started off as just a town club that was able like the actual big titans in the region was Ironton. The Ironton Tanks were an absolute superpower in that era, but before they were all sort of semi-pro. They would pay, whatever. But Ironton was was a dynasty. They had like a whole high school development thing where the high school kids would go on to play for the Ironton Tanks, and so they just were like this like dynasty. And it was interesting because Portsmouth was like, well, we're the county seat, we're the big dogs, not them. And so there was like this rivalry. There was like this whole thing for like a decade where Portsmouth was just getting abused and beat up and handed their asses by Ironton. But they were like the benchmark for which they had to clear, that was like, they had like this, and it was like a civic thing. Like the city was like getting totally involved. The fans were all showing up to games and they had like more people and more, they had the ability to kind of like draw more revenue. So they actually build a team that could, that they use their advantages. Like in that little world, they were the dominant financial power to kind of rise up and eventually beat Ironton. And once they beat Ironton, they started hosting, actual NFL teams into the zone, into their area. And they were then in order to compete with those NFL teams, actually like pay players from Ironton, like join their squad, like Glenn Presnell and stuff like that, which like turned this team into like where they were started beating like the Giants and the Bears and stuff like this before the Spartans were even in the NFL. And then of course, they had that kind of capability to compete at that level. That's when the NFL brought them in. So I love the story of the Spartans. It's really kind of like a classic, like sort of Americana story, because a lot of baseball teams were like that too, where they started off as just like amateurs and evolved, and I love that. That's that era where they were tied, where they were really entrenched with the local community. And that's like kind of how the teams like were built. Like they were built because like fans were really engaged and helping to like, they wanted to see bigger teams play against them. They wanted to join, more prestigious leagues, and stuff like that. That to me is like the evolution of sports across that's like an example of like a microcosm of like the whole history of American sport really is that concept. And so I just think, it kind of applies.
That team's been gone from that city for 90 years. And they're still revered in that town, because we had Tom and you and I went down there and experienced it.
I also got to go.
That was
great.
That was just like such an event.
That's what I'm saying is that it's never gone. It's never disappeared. Yeah. That's a beloved team. The way I saw too, they're still anchored into that city, and it's an example of that just shows you just how, especially in their day, they were beloved by that city. They were a part of that city. And so that's what I'm saying is that's kind of like my favorite aspect of it. And you can make the same case for the Detroit teams. Lions are entrenched into our culture, our very DNA, just like the just like the Tigers, just like the Red Wings. And and that's what I'm saying is that, like, the City of Champions is where it's all, for us, that's where it all started,
Happy Champions Day.
Books. It's a treasure. It's a treasure house.
Yeah, your book is a treasure, man. You are a treasure, brother.
You really are, Charles.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you. It's a little crazy right now. Like I say, I'm never stopping on this. It's just for right now. I've got to, I have an opportunity to help develop these stores and turn these stores into something huge. And if I can make it happen, then I'm like, my goal is to finance my own City of Champions movie. So
yeah. All right, he's breaking. He's totally sorry, brother. You're totally breaking up. So, but happy Champions Day to you, Charles, and I'll see you in the studio soon. And he can hear us. If anybody wants to say goodbye.
Happy Champions Day.
Happy Champions Day.
Happy Champions Day, Charles.
All right.
Can I pick up a little more stories on Portsmouth?
Absolutely.
Well, when they went down there, Portsmouth was going to play the championship game against the regular season game against the Packers, and they wouldn't play. And when the Packers came into Portsmouth, it was the only time in sports history that the National Guard was called out into Ohio to bring him to the stadium. And this is fact. And before that, one of the Spartans in the dressing room on Green Bay, he said, heck, he said, they're just a bunch of cheeseheads anyway. And today, that's the iconic helmet of football and of all sports. And I'll bet you a dime to a dollar that if you go to Green Bay and ask the guy, that cheesehead, what does that mean? Well, it was made in Milwaukee. He was a Green Bay fan, and that came directly from the Green Bay Packers. And they do it to this day. The Green Bay Packers do not have any use for the Portsmouth Spartans.
Oh, yeah. No.
On my records, I made a long call, and all of a sudden my phone went dead. They're not welcome. Memories last for a long time. Cheeseheads and the military, am I right on this? That they had to take the bus to get him in the field, right, Ray?
Yeah, right.
I'm a little nervous, and this is quite a story. But I recommend that when you go to Portsmouth, you go down and see the mural wall, see the stadium. But I had never known where Portsmouth was. I didn't know where one person in Portsmouth. This is a cute story. So when you go to a city, you call the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's where I'll start. So I called up. Yes, calling from Detroit on the City of Champions, Portsmouth, the Spartans. You got the wrong number. They play in Lansing. I said, no, the Portsmouth Spartans. Oh, I'm gonna get you to Bob Morton. I don't know anything about sports, but he's the mural. She gives me his number, and I call him up. He said he never heard of Portsmouth, the City of Champions. I told him they won 24 world titles. He said, I've been in sports all my life. He said, I've never heard of any nonsense like this. I said, could I bring the story to Portsmouth? You've got to know. Yeah, he said, bring that nonsense. I was in Naples, Florida. I went up there, and I worked at the AAA. He's deceased now, but went to the AAA office, and he put me up in his senior home. And so I brought all my material. And I'll never forget this. He's reading Charles' book. Yeah. And he was going through all. He said, I'm a baseball. Oh, there's Gehringer. And then he got to the football section, and it was all Portsmouth. All of a sudden, he started to shake. I thought he was having a heart attack. He said, I've never seen anything like this. He runs over to the phone, and I thought he was going to call 911. He was having a heart attack. He called the Rotary Club. Stop everything. Tom, can you stay in Portsmouth for another 3 or 4 days? Sure. I want you to be the guest speaker. And when I was announced, the press was there. The people were, the cars were bumping up. Portsmouth did not know that they were the City of Champions. They had no idea. And all of a sudden, now they just dedicated a stadium to revamp it. Yeah. And they're going to have their first game in 2008 or 28. And it's going to be terrific. And also, you got to remember Portsmouth. Branch Rickey was born there too. Mm-hmm. And look what, so that the NFL, the Portsmouth put a tidal wave through the NFL headquarters. 7 or 8 years later, Branch Rickey did the same thing. Yeah. And nobody in America knows where Portsmouth is.
Right.
They will as time comes by. Just a sidebar on Portsmouth.
Yeah, yeah. Did you enjoy your time in Portsmouth?
Oh, it was amazing. We got
Yeah.
to see. We went on the stadium, Municipal Stadium,
Yeah,
which is in the exact same condition that it was when it was used,
Right.
and it was fantastic.
It's
And
like stepping into history.
it was, we walked down like just the streets of Portsmouth, and you feel the history. It's different than any place that's been renovated to a point of like Detroit, like Kansas City, where these cities have continued to be big.
Yeah.
Portsmouth was once big and isn't as much anymore,
Yeah.
and so you could just feel like when you walk down the streets, you could just it's so different.
Yeah.
But what he said too is true. Shawnee State, the college there, is going to renovate that field, and they're going to start using that again. Which is both sad and cool. It's
Yeah.
sad because what a piece of history right there. That's
Yeah.
going to be, it's going to have to be different. But it is amazing that field's going to be used
Hopefully
again.
do a nice job with it like they did. We have a
Ironton?
stadium. Well, no, we have a stadium here in Hamtramck. And there next to it is the baseball diamonds where the Detroit Stars, the Negro League, was here. And they totally redid both of those, but they kept Jack White from the White Stripes, put a lot of money into revamping that
Okay.
baseball field. And they kept it true to the history. So it was nice. So it's not like new. There's a lot of the history still intact. So hopefully they do. I'm sure they will, because they adore their history there in Portsmouth. So Bill,
Sure.
talk to me about Red Wings, right? What got you into the Red Wings?
So
We're here in the Red Wings.
I grew up in the first house right behind a hockey rink.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
that kind of put skates on my feet.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, the Red Wings used to practice there every couple weeks.
Oh, geez.
So when I got old enough to really understand what hockey was,
Yeah.
I'd go over to the rink every time that they were practicing, and like people would love to do now, to stand out there and wait for the players to come out and
Yeah.
try to get autographs.
Yeah.
So I had probably 100 Gordie Howe autographs that I really wish I still
Every
had.
time you saw really?
But I would give them away to my friends over the
Okay.
years.
Oh.
So I got to the point where I asked so often that Gordie Howe started calling me Super Pest. So when I was, probably 20, 21 years old, a friend of ours through hockey got a picture of Gordie Howe that I still have at home. It's probably 16 by 24, and it's signed to my good friend Billy Williams, and then in parentheses it says SP for Super Pest. So before Gordie passed, when he was still signing things, I took it out to Lakeside Mall, is it?
Yeah.
And had him sign it again. Yeah, so I got him on a stick. I got him on that picture and a puck. So it's really
That's
cool.
great.
But so that got me into hockey. When I couldn't play anymore, I started to ref. And now I'm really proud to say, you can see my jacket, that
Yeah.
I work for the NHL now as an
Oh.
off-ice official.
Oh.
So
Off ice official.
hockey is.
So when they go
in
to the
my
booth,
blood.
that's you.
Actually, that's the booth next door.
Okay. All
So
right.
when I go for the video goal judge, so
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I do shots
Oh, wow.
now. So yeah, it's cool. We did time on ice
Yeah.
manually
Yeah.
for years, and then the computer does it now. They have tags in the back of their sweaters.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's really cool. It's amazing what technology can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the proudest thing. I really wish like Tom and I have talked, that my dad was still alive.
Yeah.
As much as he was into hockey and into Detroit sports, if he could have seen me, work for the NHL,
Yeah.
that would have made his day, right?
Oh, yeah. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's a fun.
Gordie Howe's, and let's go to the 50s. The Red Wings and the Lions. When I was a kid, I used to go to the Break Stadium. We catch the bus to get over to Olympia. We would see the world champion Lions,
Yeah.
and we'd buzz over and see the world champion, the Stanley Cup champions. And so-
Jeez. Good times.
and it's terrific. And, in my lifetime, I knew Joe Louis very, very well. Joe Louis, when I was 8 years old at Olympia with Jack Dempsey, I just made a shirt. I'll show it to you. He signed it. He couldn't read or write, and it's all in circles. It's probably the only program in the world.
Yeah.
I've never seen another one. And it was an exhibition, and Joe Louis was extremely happy, and with Jack Dempsey, and they were doing boxing promotions together. Willie Pep was the star, and I got that, and I wasn't in the radio at that time, but in 1972, I went to Caesar's Palace, and Joe Louis was the greeter. And I looked at Mr. Lewis and I said, when I was 8 years old, you signed my program with Jack Dempsey. Joe Louis' eyes got this big. I would go over, he says, stay here at the Caesar's Palace. I get off at 5 o'clock. I want to talk to you. And I'm not a gambler, but it's the first time I'd ever been into a casino. I'm putting my quarter in. Joel says, got another story for you. We're going to have a ball. And believe it or not, he liked me so much that he gave me he died in Vegas. He gave me his telephone number. Just before he died, I talked to him. I said, Joe, hang in there. But anyway, it's unbelievable. He is when I interviewed I knew Charlie Gehringer all my life. And when Joe Louis, when I interviewed Charlie Gehringer on the tape, he said, Tom, do you know who Joe Louis is the great of the greats? That means all the greats have got to look up.
Yeah.
Out of this town.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, in 49, when I got, I'm 85, but when he got the autograph, it was all in circles. And he was a boxing promoter, and the paparazzi at the Detroit Times spotted him. And he was just a kid. And all of a sudden, the kid comes up to him with an autograph, and Joe Louis didn't know what to do. And he backed up and he backed up and he backed up, because a professional fighter, if you hit somebody, you're going your way. Now, if you and I get into it, we'll solve. But he's trained to kill.
Sure.
So he backs up and he turned his face to the wall. And Wadden Spolster for the Detroit Times is following this. Joe, what's the problem? This kid asked me for an autograph. I can't read or write. I don't know what to do. He says, we're going to solve this problem. This is coming out of Joe Louis's mouth.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to go. He said, are you going to be at Brewster where he trained? I said, I'll be there tomorrow. He made a script, all in circles. And he took it there, and Joe Louis said, no, you put your pencil in there, go around and around and around. That's your autograph.
There you go.
That's your autograph. You will never have this problem again. The fans are watching you.
Yeah.
Then he married again, and he married Martha White, who was the first African-American attorney in California.
Oh.
And in her life, she taught Joe Louis how to read and write. So there's discrepancy of the original Joe Louis's autograph.
Yeah.
And
because I remember we were working with Joe Louis Bourbon for a while, and on the original, because he had a brand in the 50s. And he had a signature on the label.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember that story that the original signature was just,
he couldn't read it. He didn't know what to do. And if he would have hit that guy, that kid, he could go to prison.
Yeah.
What songs, Joe? And we lost track of the key.
Just to get an autograph,
but
right?
I've been so fortunate. I mean, especially when I interviewed the Lions and the Portsmouth Spartans.
Yeah.
I was a radio man at that time, and I was going over there and listening to the Lions. They're talking about Detroit. I go 5 feet away. They're talking about Portsmouth.
Yeah.
What do I do? I sat with Portsmouth.
I would have sat with Portsmouth too.
and they made me an automatic. So I went home. They made me an automatic Spartan player. I'd never been there. And then I had to go down there. I'll never forget. I asked Ox Emerson, where? Well, let me go back to the story. In 1957, I met George Hallis. He was staying at the Dearborn Inn. It was the Thanksgiving game. They were playing the Bears. And my buddy from high school called Tom. George Hallis was in town. Maybe you can catch him. I ran over there. He was just getting in the car. And I said, Mr. Hallis, who's the greatest quarterback you ever saw? Dutch Clark Portsmouth. There was no computer in 59. So, it must have been a pretty good quarterback. We had a furniture store, and one of our customers married a Pittsburgh Steeler. And he called me up and he said, Tom, would you like to go down to see the exhibition game? And it was a sad exhibition game because that's the first time I saw Bobby Lane in a Pittsburgh Steeler uniform. That's an exhibition game. So he was staying at the Book Cadillac, and I met all the Steelers. So anyway, Bobby, I came down the elevator. We're going to the game, and Bobby Lane came across. He was out all night, and when he was in Detroit, he was gone. And this is his hometown. But anyway, and Alex Smale played with him, and he recognized him. King, are you coming to the game? And we said yes. So we go to the game with Alex. He leaves his chair, and he goes up in the old Tiger Stadium up to the top. And he said, I think he's here, but I'm not sure. I think he's here. Who? Well, he's gone. He comes back. He's here. So I go up there. The first time I ever sat in the press box of old Tiger Stadium. At that time, it was Big Stadium. He said, sit down to this guy. I said, who is he? He said, it's Art Rooney, the president, owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Holy mackerel. Art, Mr. Rooney, who's the greatest quarterback you ever saw in your life? And this is exactly what he said. Portsmouth, Detroit, Dutch Clark. They always mention Portsmouth first. And then in 1985, what is the chances of learning about Dutch Clark, and sitting down with the actual players that played with him?
Well, and I'll
think of that.
I'll jump in here with
what's the
something,
chances of
Jamie.
that?
This was something I just looked up. You guys might have discussed this at some point, but to tie in between Portsmouth and then the City of Champions. So 1935, they took it was the Giants and the Lions that played because they were the two best in the East and the West. And there were no championship games before Portsmouth had that tiebreaker in 1932 with the Bears.
Right.
And it had a big fanfare. And so the league was like, hey, we want this every year. We want divisions. And I just looked up the 1935 standings, and the West, which the Lions were in, the West was really tight.
Yeah.
Funny, by the way, that the Lions were in the West, but it was very East Coast centric. But it was Lions, Packers, Bears, and then the Chicago Cardinals. The Lions finished 7-3-2. The Packers finished 8-4. The Bears were 6-4-2, and the Cardinals were 6-4-2. So
Tight.
very, very tight there. And the Lions getting into the championship game with 2 ties over the 8-win Packers over the 7-win Lions is a classic, because the Spartans and Packers and Lions and Packers had those ties were causing problems back then. Yeah. But without that, they wouldn't have. The Giants would have been declared champions. They ended the year 9-3.
Oh.
And so if it had just been the regular standings, the Lions wouldn't have been in that championship game. And so there's another tie-in from Portsmouth. Sort of created the idea of that championship game as that tiebreaker, and that's how the Lions got in the championship game, beat the Giants, and are the 35 champions.
See,
and one ironic about when I moved up to Detroit. The first game played in UD Stadium in Detroit history was against the New York Giants.
Okay.
Who was their very first championship that they won in 1935?
Giants.
The New York Giants.
There you are.
That's ironic, is it not?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing. So it's just so many great stories.
It's endless.
Yeah. I love the museums open. People are just rolling through and checking things out. And because the behind us are like we said earlier, are the game used sticks that are autographed by the whole team. And
they have footage and pictures too from the championships against the Cubs and the Giants out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Watching that, and Bill here watching that 35 game. Your dad was in that. I said, there he is.
It's definitely
somewhere in the stands.
Definitely in the case over there. There's replica things, but the one thing that's real is the Stanley Cup championship medal. The medal in there is from 35, and each player got a championship medal, and that's an actual one from 1935. The other things in there are for the replicas of things, but just the Sawchuk replica mask is interesting to see. There's a picture of him with his face all tore up. It's Terry took some bucks to the face, that's for sure, man.
It's amazing when you think about how long the goalies played before they put masks on.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine.
Nuts.
Well, Terry Sawchuk.
Yeah.
And Jacques Plant was the first one to put the mask on.
Yeah.
I saw that when they came to Detroit. And I watched Sawchuk all those years. No mask, nothing. I mean, it was unbelievable what that guy did.
Yeah.
And he was tall, but he could bend down. He could see actually between their skates. That's how he was. That's why he was a great goaltender. Yeah. So, could I make it? Randy's family sitting here. He's been in Portsmouth too, and just pass it back. And Randy, say a word, and because you've been to Portsmouth too. So,
hey Tom, it's a pleasure to be here with you. And
move up the microphone.
Tom, it's certainly a pleasure to be here with you and reviewing the City of Champions. today. There's nobody that I think knows more now other than Mac about the Detroit City of Champions and Tom Urich, and you're a testament to how great this city is and how far we've come in our sports history. But,
Well,
Yeah.
the one that really started out and who I really felt sorry for was Ty Cobb.
Yeah.
He was in
Yeah.
3 World Series, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
And I went to Boston, Georgia to see where he was actually born. And I talked to them and I met the family of Cobb. He's a legend. He's still we were comparing him to Pete Rose on batting averages. And we took the percentages and Wesley fixed it. Well, if Cobb still played, he'd be up a batting average and he'd have over 5,000 hits.
Jeez.
And it's just ironic, that he did that. And but he started it all off for the city, and it was passed on to him. And one ironic note: this city is so historic.
Yeah.
The first major league hit was 4,000,
Okay.
and who hit it? Ty Cobb in a Philadelphia Athletics uniform.
Yeah, there you
It
go.
came, and isn't it ironic that he played all of those years in Detroit?
Yeah.
And the first 4,000 hit in Major League Baseball was hit by Cobb.
But for
on
Philly.
Michigan. And what's the chances of that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's and Ty Cobb was something else. But boy, he was a tough player.
Yeah.
But baseball was tough. Reed was out there and he's looked at the wall. We went to the game the other day against the Royals. He said, "Cobb, how come he doesn't have a number?"
Yeah.
In 1907 and 8, they never wore numbers.
Right.
So they
Okay.
just put up Cobb.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the other players have name and
That's like,
number.
yeah,
and
yeah.
Cobb just
Yeah,
no
just the
number.
name. Yeah. All right.
So-
Well, we're gonna probably go and enjoy the museum a little bit more and check out more of the exhibits. And thank you guys for
Well,
being here to chat City of Champions on the 90th anniversary of Champions Day, April 18th. We'll be back 91 next year and a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
in between.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. So again, everybody, thank you for being
Thank
here.
you very
Yeah.
much.
Yes,
There's,
Jamie,
Jamie,
what an honor.
right?
Happy
Yeah.
Champions Day.
Happy
Yep.
Champions.